Notice of meeting. Public notice of the meeting is given in accordance with Schedule 12, paragraph 10(2) of the Local Government Act 1972. Agenda item 1, apologies for absence. To receive and resolve upon apologies for inability to attend.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. We have 2 apologies this evening, Councillors Harrison and Redfern. Thank you.
Can we receive those apologies, please? Councillor Abbott seconded. Councillor Riddles, all those in favour? Against? Abstentions? Item 2, declaration of interests. To declare any interest which members have in the following agenda items. No? Thank you. 3, public participation. Standing orders will be suspended for up to 3 minutes, will be suspended for up to 15 minutes to allow questions or statements submitted by members of the public, limited to 3 minutes per person. Any members of the public wish to speak? No? Moving on then. Agenda item 4, external reports. To receive reports on behalf of external bodies if present. A, Anglo-American.
Right, everyone? Right, so I was last here in November. I talked about the slowdown, what's going on, what's causing, etc. So to give you an update, so the slowdown I talked about has now been fully implemented, and to stress that we haven't stopped. We've actually reached a significant milestone since I was last here. So the service shaft, which is one of the 2 deep shafts, has now reached over halfway. So we're into the Sherwood sandstone, which is the water-bearing strata, and probably the most challenging element of shaft sinking. So we've reached minus 808 metres. We've, as I said last time, we've paused with the production shaft. Tunnelling works have restarted following a planned maintenance stop, although we are going at a reduced rate compared to before the slowdown, and we've now reached over 29 kilometres from the Wilton end on its way to the mine site, so we're about 80% of the way there. The workforce, so the size of the workforce is currently stands at 1,100 people working on the project, and this is actually more than we'd estimated. So last time I was here, I was saying I expected it to reduce to around 800 or 900 people, but there's 1,100 people working on the project with the slowdown fully implemented, and 75% of those, so 800, are from the local area. And I appreciate that everyone's definition of local, but we find that the normal residents within an hour commute of the site. We've carried on with the support programme, working with those people that were impacted by the slowdown, and that's been accessed by more than 350 people, supported with training, site readiness courses, etc. And like I said last time, we're finding that the vast majority of people that we're following up have found alternative employment, and the labour market is actually quite buoyant at the moment, particularly up at the seaside end, new projects that are under development. Social programmes, so we're publishing our social impacts report next week, and I'll make sure that that's distributed to all the councillors, but some headlines from that. So the education programme, so we've engaged over 9,000 students, taking part in around 90 events over the last year. Turning Tides, our emotional resilience and wellbeing programme, has supported 126 people. Skills for Work, so that's a North Yorkshire Council project that we fund that to work on small community projects for us 3 days a week, and that's delivered around almost 50 projects over the last year, including transforming the community garden up at East Side Community Centre. The foundation, the Woodsmith Foundation, that supported 99 projects last year, and their current funding round is now open, so the details of that are available on the Foundation's website. So that includes their small grant round, which is grants for up to £10,000 and there's 2 or 3 other elements as well that you can see on the website. So we are working towards being able to fully re-accelerate and ramp up construction from 2027. As I think I said last time, this depends on 2 things. So the first thing is Anglo American successfully implementing its new business strategy that was announced back in May. So that's simplifying the portfolio of Anglo American's various businesses to concentrate on copper, iron ore and crop nutrients, which is us, the Woodsmith project. So that means selling or demerging the other businesses in the Anglo American group. So good progress is being made with that. So sales have been agreed for steel, making coal and nickel businesses, and the planned demerger of platinum, the platinum business, is due to be finalised later this year in June, I think. And that will help to strengthen Anglo American's balance sheet. And the second condition that will enable us to ramp up is securing a syndication partner or partners, and that was always the plan. That's not a new thing. So we're currently engaging and we're in discussions with potential investment partners. And that's my update. So it certainly feels as though things are moving in the right direction compared in comparison to my last year. So if anyone's got any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Oh, sorry, Councillor Barnett.
Yeah, what was sort of intrigued by your statement that where the workforce is coming from, and you rather revealing said that our definition of now from town wasn't possibly the right one for us in Whitby. In other words, what proportion of the workforce are being busted and are not Whitby people? Is it because we've got such a skills shortage?
Sure, so to answer the question directly, there's around 200, just shy of 200 of the 800 workforce that are from Whitby, and the remainder of that 800 strong workforce are from either up to the north in the Teesside area or more broadly.
I'm pretty sure the workforce is over 1,000.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
I thought you said the workforce is over 1,000.
Yeah, the workforce is 1,100 and 75% of the workforce is local, which is 800, and the proportion of, so there's 200 from Whitby and then 600 either from Broadby, Teesside or from York, North Yorkshire that are living within an hour commute. And of the other 300 there's around 200 and something from the broader UK and around 50 to 70 from overseas.
So there are 200 from Whitby.
Yes.
Any other questions? No? Oh, sorry, Certainly.
I'd just like to say that on the back of such bad news, it's really good news that things are still there and still moving forward, and that the community is benefiting from the community grants that you're giving out. So on that side of things, that's brilliant, and we can only wish you all the success in that it builds up and we get back to normal production and it will increase the workforce. I get where Councillor Barnett's coming from. We've had this argument about local workforce, but it's been there from day one, hasn't it? So, but yeah, good news that at least you're still there and you're not totally gone. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for indulging me.
Councillor Abbott first.
Thank you, Chair. My question is the going on that we've had over this last week with all these tariffs, for one thing or another, that carry the noise and the
Sure.
I hope it's not going to affect you.
No, I mean we'll see how that all pans out by the time we're in production. But certainly not at the moment, no.
Right.
Councillor Wang?
I just want to echo what Councillor Turner said. It's really news on the back of not too good news. And the fact that we want to be back in production in 2023 is absolutely brilliant.
There's nothing else. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The North Yorkshire Police, have we had any written dates from them?
No, we're chasing them.
Can we chase that up? If at least they can't attend, then we can have a monthly report where we can actually consider it as meeting. See, North Yorkshire Council. Councillor Swan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I'm on my own tonight. Usually I have my Oppo, Councillor Phil Trump, and we do a double act, but it doesn't seem to be here tonight. I'm sure there's another important things. So it remains to me to...
Can you just check if the mic's switched on at the top?
The switch.
Ah,
Is that any better?
Yes.
yes.
Okay. I'll begin then, thank you. I suppose the activity that's been occupying us councillors and quite a lot of the council as well over the last period has been the budget. I'm sure you're well aware of budget issues. Well, it's been extraordinarily difficult this time in North Yorkshire, and I've tried to bring you updates for the last few months as to the progress that's been made. But now that budget for 25-26 has finally been signed off. It went to a budget council meeting 2 weeks ago, and we sat from 10 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon with a short break for lunch, and agreed the budget, which is a deficit budget of around 5 million, which will have to be funded from reserves, and the future looks a little even bleaker. But that is at least the decision, which means that the officers can then go ahead and issue the council tax bills, which will be dropping through everybody's letterbox in the next few weeks. And we also signed off the council tax reduction scheme, which means that for those people who are within certain limits of income, etc., can gain a reduction in the council tax that they pay. And it is a reasonably generous scheme that we now have in North Yorkshire. It was pretty much the scheme that came from Scarborough Borough, and I think it's probably a good one. The outcome of the budget was that there was considerable dissatisfaction by the ruling group in the government's settlement. And as a result of that, the ruling group has initiated a judicial review process against the government on the 25-26 settlement, and in particular the removal of the rural services grant of 15 million. I would say that set against that is the extra income that the council has received this year from the extended producer responsibility grant, which is to do with waste and packaging in the retail industry. But nonetheless, it's undeniable that the current government has taken away the rural services grant. But to take the steps towards taking on the government with a judicial review, I have to say, doesn't get all party approval across North Yorkshire Council. It was said in the discussion that some see that as a very risky and potentially costly exercise, which of course could cost the ratepayers of North Yorkshire. The audit for 23-24, which was the first audit for the new North Yorkshire Unitary Council, has also been signed off, but it hasn't been signed off as a non-qualified audit, and it has in fact been disclaimed by the auditors, saying they could not make a decision. There were lots of issues relating to the Legacy Council's audit, and as you're I'm sure well aware, there is still the outstanding issue of Whitby Harbour and the legal challenge that has taken place against the use of the harbour lands and the income derived from it, and the judge has not yet made a decision. So in the circumstances, the auditor felt that they could not actually stand behind the opening balances for the new council in 23-24. So we're in a rather strange position that the council does not have its accounts given an unqualified okay by the auditors. So it remains to be seen what happens in the next financial year. Just to add to that, in the discussion when I sit on the audit committee, there was a reference to the Alpamari 8 million, which was a loan, if you remember, to keep the water sports centre in Scarborough going with a private contractor. And there was an £8 million loan outstanding still. I think it's 7.9 million in fact, when the contractor walked away from the contract, and it's now being operated by North Yorkshire Council. We noticed in the audit that that figure had in fact been written down and removed from debtors into capital adjustment. I think there are still some considerable questions to be asked about whether that is acceptable, given that there has been an internal audit report on the decisions that were made and who made them at the time of the Scarborough Borough Council to lend that money to a private contractor without security. And that internal audit report still has not been published. And I keep on asking the question, where is it? I'm under pressure to get through quickly because I think you've all got a television programme to go to, or maybe a slap up me or something. But I will quickly just counter through a few of the lighter items. Spittal Bridge signalisation. Most people don't think of it as Spittal Bridge. It's actually on the A171 Helridale Road, Larpool Lane Junction, just before a high-level bridge, which is, as anybody knows, when the bridge is closed, and the bridge has been closed a lot during the summer to avoid traffic accidents, or traffic collisions, I should say. The turning right when you come out of Church Street up onto the A171 is extremely difficult, and there has been money set aside for some time to put in full traffic lights there. That is now going to take place in the forthcoming months. So there will be undoubtedly some disruption there in the short term, but I think, I have to say, as usual, short-term pain, long-term gain. We'll see whether it's worth it at the end of the day. But there is a huge benefit also, I think, in the fact that there are now a lot of youngsters who are walking or travelling to from the previous area that's served by Esfeld up on the east side over to the Whitby School on the west side, and a lot of them travel through that junction, walking through that junction across the bridge. I've pushed for changing the speed limit on the bridge itself down from 40 down to 30. So far I've met resistance from the officers who say they'll never satisfy the Chief Constable because it's not a reasonable suggestion. But I will continue to push that, since we're going to put new traffic signals there which will inevitably slow the traffic down anyway, that we can potentially change that from a 40 down to a 30. I won't touch on the adult gaming centre, but I can answer questions on that if people have any questions. I asked a public question of the executive member who covers harbours, Councillor Crane, at the last council meetings. We had two council meetings in succession about dredging Whitby Harbour, because he reported that the licences have been achieved for the Scarborough dredging, but not for the Whitby dredging. Apparently, the Marine Maritime Organisation has required sampling to be done of the harbour residues, and that hasn't been done for Whitby yet, or hasn't been satisfactorily done. But he hopes that they will hear positive news about dredging. Because I think those of you who look out onto the harbour as I do will notice the dredger hasn't been in Whitby for quite some time. It's been working in Scarborough. The one positive bit of information I received from Councillor Crane is that it won't be disappearing off on contract work up to Northumbria or wherever it was last time. And we will actually get the benefit of it when the licences are sorted out. I have some good news. I was going to talk about the local cycling and walking infrastructure plan, but I see we have a representative here who may be wanting to ask a question about that. I don't know, it's up to you. I had some good news, and that was about the Section 106 agreement relating to the Wharfdale Homes development on Green Lane. If you remember, this was a very contentious development. A lot of people didn't want it there for various reasons, because of traffic and the fact it was on a greenfield site, etc. But of course the positive was that out of that development has come the funding for projects in Whitby from the planning gain achieved by selling the houses on that estate. And most of the houses are now in fact sold. And I think it has been quite a successful build. There's quite a lot of Whitby residents there, and a good proportion of those houses are either social rented or shared ownership, which are also open to people on lower income, because you don't have to buy the whole house, you just buy a proportion of it. But the good news is that the payments are now being made on the Section 106 funding from the benefits of the sales, and the public right-of-way that goes at the side of that site up to New Gardens will get 15,000. Parks and gardens generally will get 30,000, and the child play area near, sort of behind the Green Lane Centre, which is already a play area but will be refurbished and given a considerable amount of work, will get 61,000, and that has already been handed over. So it does show that from developments we do get benefits as well. And another bit of good news, and this is, I can't really substantiate this yet, but I have been told, the person who told me was a senior officer in the council, that the potential developer has been found for the Whitby Extra Care scheme. If you remember, it's that patch of derelict land in front of the hospital that's been sitting there since the hospital buildings were demolished. And that will be a scheme, Extra Care being houses and flats for people who need care, day-to-day care, and obviously being next to the hospital is a good place for it to be. And apparently there is a developer now found for that, and we hope to hear confirmation of that in April, May, and then I hope it will get cracking as soon as possible. I've been making noises about this for some time. Every time I see a certain officer, I say, any news on the Extra Care scheme? I think he's a bit sick of me asking that question, but the good news is it's going to start. So I'll leave it there, and people can ask questions if they wish.
Councillor Allen.
Can I just ask about the harbour and the dredging? If I overlook the harbour, there's just big patches of mud all along, and boats are having to make deviations so that they don't get stuck on the road. How long is the is it likely that the licence is going to be? Do you know?
I don't, I'm afraid, is the answer, a simple answer. I mean, I think there's a little irony in this, because the MMO is the licensing body for the dredging, and I have made complaints that the time that they were needed, which was when there were big questions about dredging in the Tees, maybe, though it's not been substantiated, resulting in the die-off of crustaceans all the way along the coast and ruining the living of a large number of fishermen all the way down the coast to Bridlington. At that point, the MMO were very quiet. And when there were questions asked about what was in the mud that was being taken out from the T-Sport development and dumped out at sea, they seemingly didn't seem to think that was of particular interest. Now, after the horse has bolted, as you might say, they're cracking down on the mud from Whitby and Scarborough Harbour, which is a little irony there, but nonetheless, of course, we do want to make sure it isn't repeated. So I can only say that we're dependent on the outcome of those negotiations on the licences with the MMO.
Thank you. Councillor Coughlin.
Two things, please. Any update on Danger Bank, please, Neil? Do you know any more? And the other thing is, I've had requests for lights being put on the metal bridge. It was you were complaining about it being pitched up
Danger Bank, I've got no update, I'm afraid. I did make a statement in this chamber probably about 3 or 4 months ago to say that I have been down there. I have raised the question with the officers about getting on with the work. I brought you back the reason.
Was that the 49 million or something?
Well,
It had to be shared out.
I'm not so sure about the sum, but there is obviously a finite budget, and I've told you how the finances are of North Yorkshire Council generally. But there are a lot of these collapses all over North Yorkshire. And, this has to do with the weather and extreme weather and so on. But nonetheless, of course, that doesn't make it any easier for the people of Russell and the people of Hallidale to get down to Russell. I will continue to follow it up, Councillor Coughlin. I've not heard about lighting on the bridge at Russell, but I'll certainly raise that when it's appropriate.
Yeah, even it was a taxi driver that asked me about it, and even if it was, the black and yellow tape that illuminates as you pass it, something like that on the bridge.
Sounds a good idea to me. I will pass it on.
Councillor Abbott.
Thanks, yeah. The 30 mile an hour speed limit on the 171 over the bridge, I think you want to keep pursuing that because it's an excellent idea. And there's a lot of kids from both schools now, the primary school and from the college, that congeal on there, and 40 miles is too excessive. And why do North Yorkshire shy away from roundabouts? Especially like we're talking about the roundabout on top of Church Street, on the 171. Why traffic? Why no roundabouts? Things move faster and steady away with roundabouts than what we do with traffic lights.
Yeah, well, I had a briefing on this, and that was one of the points that was put. That a number of people have said roundabouts, but apparently you need a much bigger area which is not available on the council ownership, and that would be a bigger project. Whereas at the moment, just by sort of kinking the road slightly and creating refuges, it is possible to put traffic lights in. So I don't disagree with you. I think in a situation where there's more space, then that's certainly something that we should be pushing for. On the 40 mile an hour down to 30 miles an hour, I think you're absolutely right. And I raised this question with officers, and they said, the kids are walking on the pavements, they're not on the road. But I mean, kids are kids, aren't they? And they get boisterous and push each other onto the road. And if vehicles are doing 40 miles an hour, they're likely to kill a child. I mean, the fact is, at 40 miles an hour, you can kill. At 20 miles an hour, it's less likely. In the middle, 30, it's a bit sort of either way. But 40 is a killing speed, and I think we should try and get that down to 30, and I'll be grateful for any pressure that this council can bring to bear as well.
Councillor Knock.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Back in November, the question was raised about an ancient bylaw that may exist which would prevent camper vans parking on the prom. And I know this isn't your patch, but the question was asked of Phil. And at the last meeting here, I asked you to remind him about it. And we still haven't had an answer on that, have we, Mr. Mayor?
No, I'm not aware of any response.
I did write to the queries relating to that patch. I think you were talking about jet skis operating across that patch, and there was something else as well. And I put it formally to him and copied in the town clerk so that you can see that I did pass on your question. But I think he was intending to come to this meeting and probably to answer your questions here. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, he hasn't been able to.
Okay. Whilst another note to fill in mind, and ask it possibly.
Yeah, excuse me, more difficult than the road.
Just to say, I spoke to Phil about jet skis, because he anticipated he's actually got parenting in this evening, which is why he brought in language related to this item. But in terms of jet skis, yes, there's no jet skis are allowed in the harbour, but they are allowed at Gangley Bean, which is the bit near the golf course. Apparently they're able to go from there and not from that one. That's the disposition of jet skis.
Right.
I've no more to say on that. I've no more to say on that. Nothing to add to that.
No, okay. The question was asked at the last meeting about the lights of the whaleboats and the Captain Cook statue being out. Would you know if they've been replaced yet?
I don't recall that question, I'm afraid. But I will make an investigation.
Well, again, it's not your turf, I appreciate that. Can we ask Phil Trump about that one?
Will do.
Another one, do you have an answer on the cliff lift yet? On the cliff lift replacement bus service, is it going to happen this year or not?
Just on the whalebones and the Captain Cook statue, actually that is in my patch. The dividing line is Skinner Street, the middle of Skinner Street, going out into the sea. So I do need to answer you on that one, but I will make some investigations and find out for you. On the cliff.
I've got a couple of updates as well, again, in the absence of Phil. Thank you, Chair. So I'll try and be Councillor Trump for a moment. So just to say, actually, just as a bit of a prequel, I've done some discussions behind the scenes with relevant officers at North Yorkshire about whaleboats, because that was raised at, I think, Town Development and Improvement Plan raised that, I think. So it's sort of come under the guise of that committee. And we are going to be inviting officers from North Yorkshire to Town Development and Improvement to talk about future whaleboats at a future meeting, probably in the summer. So good, we'll know more then, but good to see that there may be some things in the works. And Phil also, so that was me, and then Phil, in terms of Clifford, yes, his understanding is North Yorkshire about to confirm the replacement bus service for the lift for this year, and there's also some more consideration of the lift itself being done by the council in the months ahead, I believe. But I believe the bus service for this year is complete.
As I reported last time, for the first time in the budget discussions, I saw Whitby Cliff Lift included in the capital pressures. Now, that doesn't get you the money, but it means that somebody's at least thinking about it.
So, Councillor Austin.
Just a couple of points. As far as Albemarle is concerned, what Scarborough Borough Council inherited when the operator went bust was a fully developed site. And the agreement was that if they had to walk away from the contract, then Scarborough Borough Council would have that as an asset. So that it would appear that debt should therefore be enough. They've got something approaching an £8.5 million asset to replace the debt, I would have thought. Just a thought. And as far as the adult gaming centre is concerned, there is, I know, a bylaw in existence, which is that such centres of adult amusement must only be on Peel Road, where the existing amusements already are. Now, I don't know what the bylaw is, but perhaps you could investigate. Pressure on that if you could.
The answer to it is that you're right. There is a line in the Scarborough local plan, which is the current local plan covering this area, which puts all the amusement centres into a certain part of Scarborough and onto Deer Road. It's very prescriptive actually. It says between numbers, whatever it is, Deer Road and another number. The problem is, as far as those people who are campaigning against the adult gaming centre on Baxtergate is that it doesn't class as an amusement centre. It is an adult gaming centre sui generis of its own type, and that is allowed under the same local plan. In fact, there's a couple of sentences which says adult gaming centres are suitable for shopping streets. So I think we've got a fight on our hands. I have objected to it, as have 500 good citizens of Whitby and elsewhere. And I have called it in because it's my right to do so as the division councillor covering Baxtergate. And I've called it in, and it has been approved by the chair and the vice chair to be considered by the full planning committee, Scarborough and Whitby planning committee. And there are suggestions that it might actually be heard very soon on the 13th of February. Sorry, 13th of March, that was difficult, wasn't it? Not that fast. So, 13th of March, and that is already on the website as the expected committee day. Now, you know, there's many a slip twixt cop and lip, as they say, and I'm not saying that is absolutely there for definite, but it does look as though it is going to be heard by committee, and it's named next week. In which case, of course, all those people who put in any kind of comment to the planning authority will be notified of the hearing, and they will get the opportunity to turn up and at least one or two of them will be allowed to speak.
The question of it being sui generis is a bit disingenuous, I think. The premises at Dock End, which operates under the name of Gallium, I believe, has ice creams at the front and gaming machines at the back. They had a notice outside saying that they now had a £500 bet optimum. Now that takes it out of ordinary amusement and puts it into serious gambling. And they got their licence on the basis of it being sui generis. That being so, you can't have one in Baxtergate, but also plans to be sui generis because there isn't one existing. Just a point.
Indeed, indeed.
But if you're fighting it, then I'm quite happy with that. Thank you.
Well, obviously, the more support for that, the better, because I think taking a public noise is going to be the thing that deters the developers. Because as I understand it, they have actually written a pretty good application that fits within the local plan, and they're a company with very deep pockets. When you look at their accounts, their turnover is in the hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
So we have got to fight on our hands with it. But of course, it will eventually go to licensing as well. But the licensing rules are very much stricter as to how the issue is dealt with. So I think when it comes to planning, it is important that people, if they do feel strongly about it, make that business plan.
You've also got the gambling working against you.
Thank you. Can we? Councillor Hollis, thank you.
Yes. Moving to a unitary council, we were told, would save millions and millions every year. How is it that within a couple of years of starting up, the council is running millions and millions of a deficit instead?
I think it's a very good question. I think the answer is that, of course, local government has been starved of cash for quite a long time. And as a result, there's a lot of councils and local authorities across the country which are either struggling or, in some cases, have actually not been able to produce a balanced budget. So that is the state of local authorities nationally. The same affects North Yorkshire Council. I think the difference is that North Yorkshire Council, because of the unitarisation, has actually managed to generate some savings, and I believe that out of the sort of 90 million that is necessary over the next 3-year budget period, 60 million is being provided by local government reorganisation, and 30 million is being provided by savings from other parts of the council. But without the 60 million saving, the Treasurer has said we would be in a very difficult position. And I think you're quite right to question the the sales pitch originally on the benefits of unitarisation. We certainly were that it would be financially much more viable.
Councillor Riddles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Going back to the harbour, dredging in Whitby Harbour is getting to a critical stage. Now, if they're going to do investigations and they find that there's something in Whitby Harbour that precludes them from dumping it into the sea, what will happen? Because we have to have dredging done, and the only way I can see is that the dredge has got to go out to sea. Do we not get dredging? And perhaps, I've heard that mercury is a problem. Now, are they aware that the turntable from the railway, when it was filled in apparently, so local gossip is, that they didn't bother taking it out, they just filled it over. So if there is a mercury problem, could it be leaching out from where the turntable was?
Well, I didn't know about the mercury issue, but of course that's a possible cause, which we'll see when we see what the results of the testing of the sediment is. But you're also quite right that it is a problem. I keep on banging on about how we want to turn Whitby into an active port again, providing harbour facilities for all sorts of vessels that don't use it at the present moment, like the crew transfer vessels for the new wind farms that are setting up. We don't stand much of a chance of getting those big vessels into the harbour at the present moment because there isn't a draft for them to do that. I believe they require about 5.5 to 6 metres draft. Obviously, there needs some clearance on that. I don't think we've got that in large parts of the harbour. I suspect there's potentially a problem ultimately for Parkroll, because Parkroll brings some pretty big boats in and out, and that is our last surviving boat builders, and we certainly don't want to lose that. So I share your concern, and that's why I asked a public question in council of the executive member whose responsibility it is. But the answer I have to say didn't give me much information I didn't know already. It was basically wait and see.
The thing being though, is the fact that the harbour hasn't been dredged for a number of years would have built up all these substances which they're saying are toxic. But had it been dredged, then the chances are the levels would be a great deal lower, because it hadn't been, it would have been gone out to sea. So that actually needs consideration when they think about it. And as I don't know whether they're aware of the mercury in the turntable, that's the red herring, but I think if you could report that to them. Just one other point, Councillor Trump now hasn't given us a report for 2 council meetings. If you can't attend, would it be possible to ask him to give us a written report?
Certainly. Councillor Wilde. Councillor Wilde?
Can I just ask a question? So one of the licence allowed to lapse, and this is why it's taken such a lot of time to renew it. Is there a reason why?
I'm afraid I don't have an answer to that.
But that's what's happened.
I believe so, yeah.
That is a serious thing that happened.
I don't think it lapsed, it just came up for renewal, didn't it?
No, it's still doing that.
Thank you. Can we move on? Because I think all the councillors have wanted to speak, have had to be speaking. We have got quite a busy agenda. Thank you very much.
You've got chocolate next.
We've got neighbourhood plan first, then chocolate. Neighbourhood plan. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I'll wind it down.
I'm not tippy toe.
High shoes. No, well done, yes, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. Is this on? I would say we're now at the 6th stage of our 13-stage neighbourhood plan, and I must admit I would have liked to have been further ahead, but unfortunately it was with the steering group's control of what has happened with regard to problems that the consultant had with family issues and the change in the town clerk. We're at the stage of public consultation about policy ideas, and today we've had 4 consultations with 2 still to run, which I hope our local councillors will call in and comment. And can I thank Councillor Bolton, who has already been and visited the consultation. The consultations remaining are the East Side Community Centre on Friday the 7th of March, 8 till 1 p.m, and the Whitby Leisure Centre on Saturday 8th of March, 10:15 to 12:30 p.m. And again, can I thank the councillors and residents that have been running these consultations. And I think we've had some quite good results, particularly out here from the schools. We've now completed survey of the business park, and a survey of the town centre retail hospitality businesses is nearing completion. And a housing needs survey of residents is also being progressed alongside the public consultations. I do hope, hearing what's been discussed previously, that people will look at these and take account of these, because there's some very interesting comments coming up of what we need to do to drive Whitby forward in the future. And it is interesting to hear what the businesses have to say of what is needed. And I do hope, particularly the North Yorkshire councillors, will take heed of this. The next stage is the development of a draft neighbourhood plan, which will consider the information gained from the resident structuring sessions and the surveys carried out to date. We also received additional funding. One was for the housing needs assessment, which is completed and is available on the website if anybody wants to view it. The neighbourhood plan housing policies need to be underpinned by robust, objectively assessed data on local housing needs, and the standout detail from this assessment, an independent assessment carried out by the consultants ACON, said in total up to 5,002 houses out of 11,226 of the total number of domestic residential properties have no usual residents, i.e. no primary residents, and this equates to about 44.5%. Unfortunately, we are still seeing North Yorkshire Planning Department quoting the old figure of 20%, and I am asking whether the steering group will consider writing to the senior planning people in North Yorkshire to make sure that they are using independent figures that have been assessed by the consultants, rather than the figures we think they're using, which are incorrect. We are at the moment on the second draft of the Whitby Design Code, which steering group members are at present reviewing and commenting on, before a coordinated set of comments will be returned to the consultant ACON. And again, this was a separately funded piece of work, both which hopefully will be very relevant to Whitby and which developers will need to consider in the future. We would again highlight to councillors that this is possibly one of the most important pieces of work Whitby Town Council can complete, and I would ask for the support of all councillors and extend an invitation to all councillors who are interested to attend our steering group meetings as observers. Up-to-date information can always be found via the Town Council website under Neighbourhood Planning. And again, many thanks to the steering group members that have been taking part, because it is a lot of hard work. I would say thank you for people that have been attending the meetings. Thank you. Any questions?
Questions? Councillor Knott? Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Talking to an estate agent pal of mine recently, he said that there is an abnormal number of houses currently on the market in Whitby, predominantly holiday lets and second homes, which is having the effect of suppressing the prices of houses. Are you taking this into account and trying to project forward a figure that may reduce your percentage of 44.5%, did you say?
44.
Unused houses. Are you looking to possibly reduce that
not saying you necessarily should, but are you considering it?
I don't know whether we have got to base our facts and figures on evidence that's there already, and that's what ACOM, the consultants, have done in the housing needs assessment. Looking forward, we go on what guidance they've given us. The big issue with Whitby is really the guidance is that we need more housing for older people because we're an ageing population. But then we've got the problem in that we haven't got young people, and again this was highlighted in the business surveys we've been doing, to support, A, to support the school, B, to support local industry and keep jobs moving. So when we look at housing, we need to look at all sorts of housing. Unfortunately, from a planning point of view, we can't look at empty homes, we can't look at a circular economy, trying to, have older people move out of the big detached houses that are more suitable to families, because we haven't got any suitable housing for older people. And it doesn't take into account conversions of apartments or residential. So if we're converting something into flats above shops, we can't take that into account either. So we're fairly limited on what we can look at under the planning side, but we are considering everything because we can't just build housing for older people. We do need to encourage young people to.
So what you're saying is that the figure tends to be skewed from the start because of what you've got.
Well, it's always going to be skewed. I mean, one of the issues is how many of the second homes, if they're advertised for sale, don't pay the 20% tax. But considering what's going on about the amount of money coming into North Yorkshire, what North Yorkshire needs to consider, I mean, we're very much a holiday area. I mean, how many houses have they got that are not paying council? They are losing from not gaining council tax from housing. So, I mean, there's so many different parts to this, but there's only limited parts that we can actually consider.
Yeah, well, that was a more extended answer than I expected. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. So hopefully please come and visit us
Will do.
on Friday and Saturday.
So, can I have a proposal to receive all of those reports, please? Councillor Knox, seconded Councillor Abbott. All those in favour? Against? Abstentions? Thank you. Moving on to item 5, Whitby Chocolate Festival 2025. Consider a request to give the council backing to this new proposed festival. A summary from the organisers is included in the reports for this meeting, and the organisers will speak briefly to the meeting and answer questions. Thank you.
So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you everybody present for listening to my proposal. My name is Pam Boland. I represent the Whitby Defibrillator project, and we need a fundraiser. Whitby Defibrillator project we formed about 8 years ago, I think. We decided to gain 10 defibrillators, we have 40. It's been a very successful campaign, but we need to keep the batteries running. It's a sizable investment. The batteries need to be replaced every 4 years and £165 each. So I was asked to come up with a good way of fundraising. And since I like hot chocolate, I decided to create Whitby's first hot chocolate festival. And how that would take form is the businesses, any business that can be associated with chocolate, hot chocolate, the chocolatiers, the people selling chocolate, food shops, even the cocktail makers, they might make a chocolate martini. So we wanted to send out an invitation to all these businesses, and once I finish with this, if we get thumbs up today, I want to go around as many of those businesses as possible. And I have formulated an invitation, and each will be given an invitation, and on there will be an invite to pay a fee of £40 to the Whitby Defibrillator project for each venue. And for that becomes an absolute promise that we will promote the festival. So I'm already known to social medias and the local publications, but I wanted to take it wider. I wanted to take it to TV and the social media. That's not my thing. It's a huge learning curve for me. I've got to learn employed and everything else, but I'm looking to turn away from that. That's a challenge for me. So to get, there's many people into Whitby and inform the tourism information and even the holiday net people to invite people into Whitby, and once they get people interested, they will go around the venues. We'll have a map, a route map of all the agencies taking place, and a vinyl sticker in the windows to say that different venues taking part. And then it's up to them, it's up to the venues to up their game and have some really, really nice chocolate in Whitby. And so it's as much for us for the charity, but it's about celebrating chocolate and making Whitby a bit of a centre maybe. There are quite a handful, more than a handful, of businesses around Whitby that specialise in some really, really good chocolate. So it's about celebrating what people are doing for their businesses as well. So cafes, chocolate shops have said that. The advertising. The time period would be, I think, unless anybody says any different, we're looking at a 2-week time period to launch on the 14th of November with the Christmas markets, and to run that to the 28th of November. And I thought to keep it in with free weekends, because it's having a lot of hot chocolate, it's going to take a little bit of time for people to experience different venues. So if anybody disapproves, or I'd be very interested in what you think about that time period. But essentially, I think I've covered everything there. Yeah. So any questions on any advice, questions, anything?
Councillor Turner.
Can I just say, I mean, I think this is lovely, I think it's a brilliant idea. But looking at the customer's point of view, will there be a financial incentive to encourage them to go around these venues? You know, I know when we've done a meal there, there's been a reduction in possibly the price of the meal, or there's been a set menu that's a reduced price menu. Will there be any incentive to encourage them?
Incentive, a few incentives. One, we thought we might scale down the size of chocolates and have maybe £2. If you did the espresso sizes, you could have a shop and move around the different venues to do it that way. And we wanted children to be involved, and we wanted to have a creative competition for children. But and to have a best of, a top 10. Yeah. But as far as incentive goes, it's people coming in and trying something new, something different, I think. But we would definitely scale down the sizes.
It would be a bit much, wouldn't it, for...
Yeah. If I was to try and have a dozen hot chocolates in one day, I would struggle. So.
Thank you. I just wondered if that was anything.
Councillor Cotton.
What about a loyalty card? People love a loyalty card.
A loyalty card?
So if you had 5 hot chocolates and you've got to start for each one and then you get 6 on free.
Yes.
People love
Yeah, we're going to have some special printing, but if you have,
If you did that, you need to be in the same shop, because otherwise somebody's giving away a free hot chocolate, so it would have to be from the same shop. Or maybe you could encourage them to all get loyalty cards, because not all places have them. That would be a good idea.
Some people do have them automatically, don't they? Foster has them.
Can I ask, have you sounded out this with any of the cafes?
Several cafes, and this happens, that I just do this, and that's been, the lady that has the Monkshaven Cafe was the most useful, because she was very realistic, and she said, I'm absolutely for it, but please understand that primarily we're selling fish and chips, we're selling breakfast, lunches, teas, we're in it for the food. So the a bit of a thorn in our sides, and we won't prioritise the hot chocolates over our food customers. So that is that kind of thing is, like I say, a huge learning curve for me. But I'm willing to give it all I've got and go around and see as many of the venue holders as I possibly can, and get that feedback and really take it on, take that the advice on board. So.
Councillor Wyatt.
Can I just ask, have you been to anywhere like Mr. Cooper's?
Yes.
Because Mr. Cooper's are very, very popular.
Yes, yes.
And what do they have of you?
I haven't asked Mr. Cooper's about it. I've had several, but not Mr. Cooper's. I've been holding back because I didn't know whether I would respond at any stage, so I've held back. But Mr. Cooper's, I can, on the subject of value for money, I would have to see what deals the cafes could do. If I'm doing this and promoting chocolate in Whitby, could they make a concession? And that is a very real question that I could put. And
It's they encourage people.
yes, absolutely. And it's the kind of question I can put to the people at Mr. Cooper's, is how can we make this the best value for customers.
Have you tried the garden centres as well?
Garden centres, yeah, that's a very good one. I haven't put garden centres on this one. Yes, thank you.
And just my understanding is that there will be a vote for the best
Yes.
chocolate.
Yes, I'm thinking we would. A bit technical and I've got to learn. But assuming that the venue's got a website, would do a QR code link into the website, and they would be able to see a page that's all about the Hot Chocolate Festival, and on the bottom of there would be a voting system. But I do feel we need perhaps a paper voting system to run alongside that, because old school people like me like to put it on a piece of paper into a box. So those two things have to be factored. And also I'm hoping that with everyone's permission that we might have a donation. We can have links to our accountants for the defibrillator projects, and people can put a donation in. We thought that collectively as a committee for the defibrillator project, rather than having money boxes, because they have a tendency to get stolen. So.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to say that I think I would agree with the council support this event, because if we've got the support of businesses, we should be seen to be doing everything we can to support our businesses. But it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because the defib machines are such a vital asset to this town that anything we can do again to get behind that ensures their continuation, then we should be seen to be doing that.
I thought of a daft slogan for you. Catch your breath and have a hot chocolate.
Yes.
I'll second that.
What was that again?
Catch your breath and have a hot chocolate.
Catch your breath
It
and
links
have
the defibrillators to the chocolate.
I like it.
Catch your breath and have a hot chocolate.
Put that on my t-shirt.
Any other councillors wish to speak? If not, we've had a proposal from councillor. So, are you seconding?
I'll second it.
That the Whitby Town Council supports the Chocolate Festival, Whitby Chocolate Festival 2025.
You should have done me one here, don't you?
Sorry?
You should have done me one here.
I think that could be seen as trying to go for pecuniary interest now.
I think what you're doing is admirable. I really do. As Sandra says, vital issues, but and I will support it. I will, but it somehow seems a bit perverse to encourage the public to buy the substance and then to contribute directly to obesity, which necessitates the use of defibrillators. It's a bit like encouraging smokers to keep on facts over the NHS.
Yeah.
It's just a comment. I will support you, but I wish you all the very best with it. I really do.
Thank you very much.
So we should move to a vote. Opposed and seconded. All those in favour? Against? Abstentions? No. Well, thank you very much. We wish you everything. If you'd like to keep us updated via the clerk, but how you getting on, that would be lovely.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Moving on, item 6. Planning Arts Gathering Update. Our curator Helen Berry will update the council on recent activities and planned dates in the town. Helen.
Yes. Can you hear me now? Yes. So, hello everybody. So for anybody that doesn't know me, I'm Helen Berry, I'm the curator here at the Art Gallery, and I have actually worked for the council for over 14 years. I've never been to a school council meeting. Anyway, so but we've had a spectacular year this year in the Art Gallery, and I just wanted you to be able to appreciate some of our achievements, because we're really proud of what we've done. And it all kind of has to lean back and fraction. And I've written a report. The council has got one. I'm afraid I haven't done extra ones, but if you email me, I can send you. I'm more than happy to give you an email version of it. Yes, so there are a few apologies. So in 2022, we secured an amazing collection. Council-wide put in a huge amount of work, and we spent about 2 years, didn't we, securing this collection from the Sophie collection to get it to Whitby. And I'm sure most people have had a look at it now, some parts of it. It's just a phenomenal art collection, and it has national recognition, it has great status, and it is wowing everybody. And on the back of that, well, first of all we had to create a new storage space for the 70-something archival boxes of objects, which is a new created there. But then it came with wonderful opportunities, but huge challenges. So we then spent another year or so securing funding, and we eventually secured 75,000 of UK shared prosperity funding, and that was matched with some funding in kind, quite a significant bit, some private donation, and quite a lot of very small grants from all over the place, which has given us a really good budget to work with this year. As I say, much of that was funding in kind that was building work already existing on the property. So I think it gave us a budget of about 100,000 to spend. Or maybe just a little bit under, but not insignificant. So with that funding, and I'm not going to read out my report, you've all got a copy, but I'll just give you some absolute highlights. We're getting inquiries from across the world for this collection now. It's putting us a little bit on the map. And we've had gifts of additional work as well to strengthen the collection. We've been very strict with what we're taking to the collection because we're now at capacity, but things that are enhancing what we've already got are welcome. So with this money, we've been able to have 3 very part-time posts this year. We've had a collections assistant, a community engagement assistant, and a volunteer coordinator, which has just been fabulous. It's just really been nice to not work in isolation. We've created new storage. It wasn't the work going into the attic store. We didn't have the facilities to safely store it, to prevent it being damaged, to keep it in the best possible conditions. So we've had new racking installed in the gallery store upstairs where we will keep the collection. We're still looking for a little bit of additional space because we've got some works that are still not on hanging mesh racks, but we've managed to secure enough space to put a huge selection of the artwork on there. We've got, I think, over 300 framed, I think it was 319 framed artworks, as well as about 600 and something unframed artworks. The unframed is easy to accommodate. So if we're taking a new one, we tend to take unframed the annual report. As well as the storage up there, we've got I hope a lot of you have been appreciated because I love them. Two new display cabinets, which are now in the renamed level and sofa gallery. It's just as you go in on the right, on the left-hand side, these two new cabinets. I'm so excited about them. They filed in January. Pride and joy. And each cabinet has got 3 pull-out drawers, and each drawer has, at the moment, we've got different themed displays in each drawer. And I did a survey of visitors, and the people are unanimously delighted to have this opportunity to explore bits of collection that they wouldn't normally see, and to it's the discovery. We pull out the drawer and discover all these treasures. It's been fantastic having those in the gallery. We've also upgraded environmental monitoring, so we have to be really careful to control the temperature and humidity, and different temperatures and different humidities are required for different elements of the collection. The new store didn't have that control, and the existing environmental monitoring system was actually controlled by the museum. We shared a system, so we weren't getting up-to-date information, because by the time it's been monitored in their office on the 4 days a week that they're in, and then it's reported to them, there's a delay, and it's the sort of thing we need to know instantly. So now we have it on the information you can access it on a number of devices, all the different laptops, and we can check it remotely. I can check it from home to make sure that. So, for instance, we had the flood last year that poured down the stairwell. If we had this system, somebody had checked the monitoring system, we would have known instantly that the humidity had gone and that there was a problem. So. It's just a huge plus for the collection. We've also upgraded the cabinet in the centre of the gallery, in the level of the gallery. It wasn't fit for purpose. It wasn't functional. We couldn't actually use it. But now we've upgraded it so we are using it mainly for workshops to display the work of items that were produced in community workshops alongside the collection. So we've got a lovely display in there at the moment, well, it's 2 in fact. We did a nature books workshop with a community group, and we've done a writing workshop, a writing project with the writers group, and their work is displayed alongside the works that inspired the products of their sessions. It's not actually going to be in there for a long time, because we've been doing another project with Carers Plus Yorkshire, who is at Kirkham Close, and their work is coming to the gallery soon, and that will then be displayed alongside the work, the items that have inspired their work. So we've done some really interesting projects coming up. So we've had 2 major exhibitions in this last financial year that have involved the sofa collection. The first one was Look Closer, See the Extraordinary, which was looking at art and science together. It was funded by the Royal Society, or part funded by the Royal Society, and the exhibition itself attracted over 6,000 visitors. It was a really good exhibition, and it was really well received, but alongside that we also had a really comprehensive programme of workshops and activities. And the other one was the other exhibition that had a collection in very significant building was the Art of Illustration, because George and Alice were both major illustrators in the time. So there's a fabulous one, Cecily cabinet selection of book illustrations, but also advertising illustrations and things. So we have local contemporary illustrators displayed alongside the Soper family. So the community engagement programme that we've been running throughout the year, we've actually delivered over 60 workshops and activities and events, mostly in the gallery, but some have been outreach and some been part of the festivals and events. So over 4,500 people have taken part, predominantly local people. It was all particularly targeted at local groups and organisations as possible, and individuals. We work with a lot of families in the gallery. In this report, it says 10 local community groups that we've worked with, but actually when I was talking about that, it's 11 community groups that we've worked with, and we've worked with all the 6 schools, the 5 primary and the secondary school in Whitby, on a number of projects, not just as a one-off, but some of those have been quite sustained activities, and some of them we worked with on more than one project. So yeah, those projects have been really beneficial, not only in developing skills, but also in health and well-being and self-esteem, and developing that sense of pride in our collection and the connection to the gallery. So I've put in a few photographs just to show you a bit of the range of activities. The one thing I forgot to put in the report is another project that we've done. It's called Out of the Box. So we've been working with an external organisation who have developed a website with items from museum collections, and that's in each item has a whole series of workshops and activities associated with it on the website, and that goes out to schools and to older people, to care homes and whatever, to encourage engagement with museum collections. That if they can't access the premises, if they have access issues or they're not local, it's because it's a web-based project. People anywhere can access that and can access some items from our collection. And we were very lucky to be selected to be part of that project. We've also had a lot of visitor-led activities in the gallery, so we've created activity sheets, so even if there's not a workshop happening or not one of us in the gallery, people can pick up an activity sheet and engage with the collections or exhibition in some way, shape or form. Again, I've just put a couple of examples in here. We've had the volunteer coordinator, she's been brilliant. She's recruited 12 volunteers, which have been, it's just been fabulous having a volunteer team working with us at the gallery. They've done a whole range of things, from auditing the Sober collection, the artefacts, through to we've had on regular occasions, we've had just here we have a little desk with our visitor welcome, and that has been so appreciated by our visitors, having that face in the gallery, somebody to ask questions or somebody to tell them a little bit more information about the artwork on display. And they're really gaining confidence in their abilities to be able to deliver that and other activities. And we've been really lucky, because often volunteers are, just very nature of it, people have the spare time and are often retired, but we've been managed to have 2 young people to be there in volunteering, working with us in the gallery, and that's just been brilliant, because they have different skills to us, skills that I'm sure we'll start learning, particularly things like the social media and the computer-based skills. So that's been fabulous, and we're helping them really develop their careers. One of them in particular is going on to pursue a career in museums, and one of them is trying to work out whether that's what she wants at the moment. So it's a mutually beneficial situation. And then on top of all of this, we've done all of this huge project, but we've also secured museums accreditation this year once again. Again, a vast amount of work, but essential. We wouldn't get any funding from pretty much anywhere without that status. And I have to say thank you to all the councillors on our management on the Pan Art Gallery Committee, because I've had to ask you to step up and do extra work this year. There's endless policies to have been read and commented on and adapted, and and Councillor Brown has also been helping with security issues at the gallery, with writing reports about security to feed into that. So yeah, my committee have been brilliant this year, so thank you for your support.
Councillor Wyatt.
Can I just say, Helen is so modest in the amount of work she's done. And when we were trying to get the silver collected, it wasn't a given. It was a very competitive situation. We were looking at well-known galleries in places like London. So it wasn't like, oh, you can take it up to Wigan. We jumped through so many hoops, and Helen was absolutely outstanding. The amount of work brought this gallery up. And you know, the volunteers that we have now, and Anne Brown's been involved, she's involved with the volunteers, it's been absolutely superb. And Helen, the amount of work and the money and the accreditation that Helen did is unbelievable. So I just think we need to remember that we've got a complete asset in Helen, and the amount of work she does is phenomenal. I just can't say enough good things about Helen.
Councillor Turner.
I know it's not been speaking through council, I just want to echo that really. I've got to say, Helen, your enthusiasm is so infectious. We are so lucky to have Helen. Not only does she put everything into the job, but the funding that you've brought to this position is phenomenal. Without that, you wouldn't be looking at what we've got around us today. Long may it continue, because she's a gem, an absolute gem. Give her a round.
Any other questions?
Well,
Thank you. Can we just receive that update, please, from Helen? Councillor Cochran, seconded Councillor Turner. All those in favour? Against? Abstentions? Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 7, minutes. A, to approve an accurate record of minutes of the following meetings: full council the 14th of January 2025 and full council the 28th of January 2025.
Sorry, Chair, can I just quickly put in to say that the minutes of the 14th of January overlooked listing Councillor Brown as attending the meeting, so we will be making that amendment to these minutes as they're agreed tonight. Thank you.
Councillor Turner.
There needs to be another amendment to the meeting, the minutes, on the 28th of January. I did actually declare that I was a member of the Whitby Town Deal Board, and I'm not listed unless I'm like that.
We can add that. Thank you, Councillor Turner.
Subject to those amendments, can I have a proposal to accept? Councillor Cochran, Councillor Knott. All those in favour? Against? Abstentions? B, to receive the draft minutes of the following committee meetings: 1. Harbour, 19th of November 2024. 2. Finance Policy and General Purposes, the 10th of December 2024. 3. Town Development and Improvement, 17th of December 2024. 4. Joint Management Committee, the 21st of January 2025. 5. Planning and Licensing, the 28th of January 2025. And 6. Finance Policy and General Purposes, the 4th of February 2025.
Again, Chair, I must cut in. There is one amendment to the TDI minutes. It'll be item 254/24. It says Castle Road. It's supposed to say Stokesby Road. So 254/24 should say Stokesby Road. Otherwise, no other amendments. Thank you.
Is there a proposal to take these on block? Councillor Cochran proposes. Is there a second to take them on block? Councillor Brown. All those in favour of taking on block? Against? Abstentions? Thank you very much. Agenda item 8, Town Clerk Report. Over to you, Ellen.
Thank you, Chair. I'm conscious for Councillor tonight you've had quite a listening-heavy meeting this evening, but I do want to indulge a little bit more listening on your behalf, if that's okay, because the last couple of meetings have been very tight agenda-wise, and there hasn't necessarily been a lot of time to consider the Town Clerk report, so I want to make sure I pick a few items out for you this evening, and then, as ever, very happy to take questions or comments from you. So starting with the introduction, 5 months in post, exactly 5 months on Saturday, 1st of October. Hectic, challenging, fulfilling start is the words I want to use about that. To be clear about how the work has been progressing, I've tried to be as clear and transparent as possible for councillors, also for residents, obviously, because they can access these reports in the public domain as well. So in October, I set out some key initial priorities for the first few months in post, and then in January reported to you on progress against those priorities, so you can see what work has been set and what work has been delivered. Moving forward in this report, I'm covering main work of the council, but also I am doing some looking ahead as well, so council can see what is coming up over the months ahead. Council's residents can see that. Key items of recruitment. I'm hugely grateful to the HR committee for the amount of work, input and meetings that they have been very happy to work with me on to produce the revised post of assistant town clerk being recruited. In us determining this, as I made clear in the report, we're following the terms of reference of the HR committee around how posts are developed and recruited. But as I say, we have now advertised the post of assistant town clerk. HR committee will be aware from the reports of the number, there are a number of reasons for that change. But probably the most practical and important one is that this enables an increase in staffing hours available, because clearly we have a small team, with a lot of demands made upon us. So anything we can do to increase the staffing resource without increasing the council's budget is something that we should be doing, and that's why we're taking this forward in this way. But at the same time, again, working with the committee, we've been really diligent and careful to make sure that all of the responsibilities in the current town clerk and deputy town clerk job description are picked up within the town clerk and ATC job descriptions going forward, so we know that all of the work will be delivered. Post advertised, closing date 17th of March. We're hoping to interview week beginning 24th of March to have an appointment before the end of March. Item 3, co-option. We will be bringing the we'll be re-advertising the co-opted opportunities this week. They should be on the website by the end of the week. Christmas lights, new tender process because the current contract finished at the end of 2024. Tender going out very soon, and then Christmas lights subcommittee, which is a subcommittee of the Town Development and Improvement Committee, who have made appointments to that committee for this year. So that committee will be convened to consider the bids made for the Christmas lights contract going forward, and then full council will be asked to determine a decision upon that. We think a decision upon that, therefore, is going to be late April, early May, but we've been making sure that is soon enough, not too late in the year, for the delivery of the service, and we've been assured that that's plenty of time for any successful bidder to deliver the service for the year going forward. Toilets and toilet contractor. I've covered the key points there in terms of a lot of work going on to help to bring, hopefully, current improvements to the situation and addressing some of the key challenges that have existed or do in some cases still exist. And I'm, for example, pleased to say that although frustratingly Newquay Toilets was closed for a few days over the last week, the good news is that our contractor has made all 3 changes necessary for them to reopen, and they reopened on Monday. They fixed the paddle gates, they fixed the card reader, and they also fixed the keypad that was needed for people to make the online payments. The 3 things went wrong at Newquay, and they're all fixed within a week. So I think that shows how things are progressing. We're not in a perfect world, but I think we're in a better world than we were. But there's key work going forward, as is described within the report, about how we're looking to see how potentially we may be in a position to be able to tender for a new arrangement later in 2025 after North Yorkshire make their contract awards, so that we can do our tender in a way that will most effectively with that new county-wide service that will be coming in during the summer of 2025. Other things on toilets covered there. The work group started only 1 meeting, so report with more work's been done. Westcliff Toilets councils aware of the damage and we're getting quotes on extra work, but in the meantime, those toilets can remain open. And as I already covered, North Yorkshire are tendering for their cleaning. Staff has obviously already covered the recruitment of ATC and where that's up to. Obviously, we're working, that's next to me, so I won't embarrass her too much to say, obviously working on the deserved amazing support for her incredible years of service, and also the work in her domain is in the meantime being taken forward, as well as crucially a comprehensive handover report that will help us massively going forward. You just heard Helen's curating report, amazing work in the gallery in the last year, and great to have the opportunity to share that with councillors and residents this evening. Maintenance programme, hugely busy as ever. I picked out some of the key items there, although a comprehensive report was shared with the Joint Management Committee at its recent meeting. And meanwhile, reception area also very busy doing winter cleaning and maintenance programme ahead of the reopening, and the gallery and museum were packed during half term, which was great to see. But also, as we're obviously keen, as those staff are, to do what we can appropriately while not interrupting their reception duties and requirement to help maintain safety within the gallery and the security of the collection. But we can see they can do more work helping to update the council websites and panel websites. That work's just begun, so we know our website still has some more work to do to bring it up to where we want it to be. It's only just begun, so a bit of patience needed to get us all the way there, but that will bring improvement to our communications over time, and I'm grateful to the staff for that work that they are taking on. Okay, other items, Town Assembly, just to say we are rescheduling that, as it says here. This is to enable us to do a report on the 24-25 year at the Town Assembly, so it will happen in April rather than in March. Legally, Town Assemblies have to happen between March and June each year, so the April date is fine in terms of the requirement of when the meeting needs to be held. But it will be a better meeting from the later date with better information for residents about the work that we've been doing. And then I've moved on to looking ahead. My question is 25th of March, so we'll know then whether this is my last meeting or not. Let's hope not, we will see. But in the meantime, crucial work going on, preparing for year-end, council training programme, obviously crucially important, and putting together a programme to be delivered in 2025, because of course the funding for that is in our budget for 25-26. Crucially, number C is worth a moment on, just to say I think it will really help the council to set some priorities for the remainder of the council term up to election May 2027. So there's lots of, as you can see from my report, lots of important work has been taken forward. There's also other pieces of work the council wants to do or individual councils would like to do. So it makes sense for us to agree on list of priorities for the remaining period of this council term. That gives us a clearer direction of travel. It helps with decision making and prioritisation, and also helps our residents have a better idea of what we're going to be up to between now and May 2027, which definitely helps them. So more work on that in the pipeline. Old Town Hall, I'm sure you're all aware the refurbishment has started. Obviously North Yorkshire have contracted that work, but one of the pieces of work that will then follow on from the refurbishment is determining the future uses of the space, and the Town Council will be part of the working group that will be looking to determine that. Toilets, as described above, obviously lots of work to take forward there, and double devolution. Obviously a lot of work has been done within this council over the last 3 years, looking at options around double devolution in relation to North Yorkshire. Various proposals have existed at various times, but what will happen in the summer is that proposals will be brought back to council for us to effectively firm up and finalise what the actual proposals going forward to North Yorkshire are, and then, with a following wind, those things should then happen in time. Thank you for listening patiently. Through you, Chair, to take questions and comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Really, I just focus on recruitment. I know that this has gone through HR, but I am quite surprised it didn't come to full council so that we could all have an input, because this is an extremely important position. I'm going to, we're already out there advertising for an assistant town clerk. Now, we've obviously always had a deputy town clerk. Can you give me the assurance that the assistant town clerk can in fact step up to the plate in the same way that the deputy town clerk did? Let's say, for instance, the clerk is unavailable for a certain period of time for whatever reasons. Would the assistant town clerk be able to carry out those same duties in the same way? It does concern me It concerns me quite a lot, and I feel as if we're just being sort of tagged on the tail end of this without all the information that possibly we should have, because we're not part of the HR. And again, I appreciate we could come to the meetings, however, we still don't have an input, and I do see this as it's really leaping ahead without the full backing of the full council.
Well, as I say, in terms of process, that's covered within the report, which is the terms of reference of the HR committee and which posts are determined by HR committee and which ones by full council, and that's the process we've followed here. In terms of your question, yes, a long and detailed report, in fact, series of reports, was considered by the HR committee over a series of 3 meetings. A lot of that report and the discussions at meetings covered the exact point that you are raising. The truth of the matter, in brief, I'm not going to go through all of that, we haven't got the time, but in terms of the key point is that if you look at different councils, and we also took the advice of the association about this, the Yorkshire Local Council Association, followed their advice in terms of the post that we've developed. And obviously, YALCA are the county-wide version of our national body now, so we're acting in accordance with, recommended good practice through those routes as well. Essentially, town and parish councils come in different sizes. So if you are a larger council with a sufficient staff team, you would expect to have a deputy town clerk. However, most small councils, and obviously with a staff team of 4 members of staff being involved in any way at all with the workings of the actual town council, that makes us a small council, not a large one, and you're more likely to have a staffing model that looks like other smaller town and parish councils, and they do not normally have a deputy town clerk because they're not big enough to have the post. So what you do obviously then is you have to make sure there's business continuity arrangements, as this council did itself, because of course when you did have a significant gap in town clerk between mid-August and October when I started. Luckily I came sooner. I came on and negotiated a short notice period so I could come more quickly than the full 3 months that could have happened. But you actually employed a locum yourselves to cover that period of significant absence. So that's already the arrangement that exists within this organisation. In terms of obviously more general day-to-day business, then it is a matter of how it is organised between the town clerk and assistant town clerk, and that's what's been agreed through the HR committee in terms of how the meetings and roles and responsibilities are divided, so that those posts are able to deliver the functions across the council as is required. So that's the work the HR committee did together, and that's how we were able to take this forward. As I say, that's crucially because it's really important to have an opportunity to increase the staffing hours within the team, and that's actually what you need much more for your business continuity than paying the second post at the salary of deputy town clerk. As I say, the reality with this, because it's such a small team, if there's a long absence, you still need a local clerk anyway. So in that circumstance, it makes sense to use the staffing model of smaller town and parish councils and have the assistant town clerk rather than deputy town clerk. So that's what we have.
Could I following on from that, Mr. Mayor, and this is not personal yourself, Adam, but obviously it's not too long ago that we advertised a position for a clerk, and with that position came a salary. Now, just for my clarification, is your job staying as is, and it isn't sort of being halved along with the assistant town clerk? Because my concern, and I will be straight up and blunt with it, if your job is reducing in any way, then we advertise your position, whoever the town clerk may be, this is not a personal thing, we advertise that position at a set salary.
Yes,
now, if that position is reduced in any way, surely there is something questionable about the salary that we are paying for that position. And I'm going on about this because there is so much criticism in this town about the level of monies that are taken out of the precinct that we take from the people of this town to pay for staff. And there is very little left for actual activities that benefit the community. So again, I can't stress, this is nothing personal,
No, I don't take
but
that.
if the role that we advertise at a set salary is to be reduced, then surely that salary needs to be revisited. If that hasn't happened, please put it to me.
Yeah, I completely take your point, you're absolutely right. And one of the advantages of this change is actually slightly cheaper than the current arrangements. We're making a saving to the town in terms of our staffing costs. But also, so in other words, we're doing more hours for less money, which has to be better for the town in terms of the context of the question that you're asking. In terms of the role, there's no reduction of responsibilities within the town clerk's role with this arrangement. The responsibilities are not being reduced. I think it's important to recognise that since I came into post, the hours required to do the job have been very significant. So of course it's sensible to see whether there's a ability to, as I say, help more hours within the team to help more work to get done. But the responsibilities of RFO and the town clerk remain with this post, and that's not been changed. So the grading is set upon the responsibilities, and those responsibilities are still held within the new arrangement.
Thank you.
Councillor Lehman.
With regard to the co-option, please to see it's finally going ahead. What is the timetable for it, please?
We'll finalise that as part of the advert, but the normal arrangement that would happen, which I think is about 30 days, is it?
Well, it's between 14 and 30.
Between 14 and 30 days, so that's the period time period. So it may well be that we may look to convene an additional meeting to agree the appointments if that can be done in time.
Sorry, I missed that.
So 14, so yes, the advert will be 40. So I imagine again we'll go between 14 and 30 days as it says within the policy.
Is there a preference for one or the other, or is it still real? Bear in mind, these seats have been empty since May.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a completely fair question. And obviously, I noticed the range of days within the policy is quite a broad range. Although I think that we wouldn't want to look like we were trying to not give people enough time to respond and stuff like that. So, I mean, I personally think 14 days is a bit short to make sure people have all the opportunities that they need to be able to respond in the fullest way possible. So, I can understand more than 30 days and 14 the odds about it, but we'll try and see the best timetable we can.
Will there then, when will those applicants be considered?
So we're looking to see the most appropriate timetable, and also there's other bits of business contained in this report that you can see. So I haven't had the time and opportunity to completely kind of determine this absolutely, but I think we are working towards potentially having an additional meeting in April to cover some of this business and make sure it's done.
Councillor Knock.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Looking again at public conveniences, the leaks in nuclear
going down there.
yeah, they're going on for far too long. And we still haven't. And it was ancient history before you came here, Mr. Clark. It's time to get tough with that noise. Take this from the books. And we really need to get hard and sharp with it.
Yeah, I haven't gone into detail here, and obviously I can't stray into territory that would be for an exempt meeting rather than a public one as well, in terms of what to say now. But please be assured that conversations have been happening with North Yorkshire on this issue, and they've been giving some helpful advice about it. So we are looking to work with our partners to try and resolve this sooner rather than later.
When you say you've had a conversation, does that mean you've been shouting at me?
I'm not really the shouting type, Councillor Knox, to be honest with you, but I take your point.
Okay. One further point, if I may, there has been some discussion as to whether the turnstiles that we have are legal or not. Now, I know the turnstiles we have are rather different from the turnstiles that used to be in football grounds, but are we satisfied that the turnstiles that we have are compliant with the law?
I'm going to to say yes, in the sense that obviously one of the things we've been working with DAMPO about, and has been covered within the information that's been shared with councillors, has been about what the most appropriate entry and exit systems are going forward. And in terms of, if you like, the contractor's understanding of the legislation and how it works, then our entry systems are okay legally. So I believe that they are.
Is it a possibility that as panels become worn or worn out, they will be replaced with turnstiles that are rather more robust construction?
I mean, as has been covered within the information shared with councillors, we've asked our contractor to come up with some more definitive proposals around appropriate entry gates for our toilets, and that then can be something that council can consider in terms of including potential changes if councillors felt they were appropriate. So we're trying to give councillors we will bring to councillors the information necessary for you to make informed choices about those matters.
Thank you. Councillor Brown.
Going back to the co-option, can I just ask, when I was at another organisation in which I volunteer, somebody came to me and asked me whether there were vacancies at the town council. So if we happen to get more than 2 people applying, can you just talk us through the process for what would happen then?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and of course, in many ways, the more applicants we get, the better, because of course the council wants the best applicants possible, and therefore the more choice you have, the better your outcome is going to be. So we're really keen to get as many people as possible to apply for these positions. It is a decision of council as to how in terms of what appointments are made. So essentially, that would be an extraordinary meeting of full council would be necessary to make the appointments, obviously. But if there are more than one, if there's more than one candidate per seat, then council will have information about each of the candidates and will make a choice about which one they chose.
There is a process within standing orders already which defines what the voting criteria would be, and that will be followed. Any other questions? Councillor Harston?
You had a bit of a discussion about whether we're a big town council or not. We're the 8th largest parish out of 370 odd in North Yorkshire, so I would have thought that would mean we are a big town council.
Yeah, I completely understand. I'm very glad you asked the question actually, so let me clarify. I'm talking, I suppose the vast majority of the thousands of town and parish councils around the country have what would be described as a small staffing team. The absolute vast majority. So it's not like a third are big, a third are medium, a third are small. 90% are small.
Yeah.
At least 90% are small. So we're in the 90%, not in the 10%, what I was trying to explain really. If you look at our staffing budget, the number of employees, staff structure, however you like to look at that, that is of what most people would call, in inverted commas, a small organisation. Because to say you have myself, deputy town clerk, part of the curator, past the maintenance officer, and that's it in terms of town council responsibilities. I'd struggle to not call that a small team.
Just a very quick point, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to go back onto the toilets, and I know that in the council problems, the fact that we might be in a position to take on more. I think looking at the report that came out to us today, we would have to look extremely carefully. For me, I wouldn't touch the toilets with a barge pole, but that's my opinion. I think we do need some serious consideration on whether and how we move forward on that.
Yes, I'm great, but I'm sorry, I should have highlighted that, Councillor Turner, when I was going through the report. Obviously, there's a lot of information here, and I don't want to get us all to be here at 9 o'clock. It's still me. There's other business to be done, but I completely take your point, and this report in no way is saying, oh, let's have more toilets. What it's saying is that North Yorkshire are likely to approach us to consider whether we should have some, and at that point, there'll be a proper process for deciding that, and council will make an informed choice about that. So probably best not to discuss it too much now, because we are going to discuss it later when you have that information. But there probably will be some informal process before formal process in North Yorkshire would be quite keen to, to take us around them and show us what they're, and have some sort of on-site tours and discussions and stuff like that. Those won't be decision-making meetings, they'll simply be processed before a decision is made. So to be clear about this, we're not deciding this now, we've got a process to do before decision-making. This report's not recommending it, it's just letting you know what process is going to happen.
Any more questions from the town clerk? Not, can I have a proposal to note the report? Councillor Copland, Councillor Lehman, all those in favour? Against? Abstentions? Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, Chair. I'm so sorry. I'm so
Sorry, everybody. I meant to give you an update. Another update, which is good news. Okay, so you may be aware of this already, but there is going to be a temporary banking hub in Whitby that will start on the 6th of March at 87 Church Street. I know before the council were keen to make sure about that. So that may not be permanently done, it may not be agreed yet permanently, but at least a temporary, presumably private trial banking hub is starting, and it's starting this week. I meant to say that in my name picture. I'm so sorry to not say it until now, but yes. 87 Church Street. Six, and they're aiming, well, actually said we're aiming to open 6th of March, but as Amy sent this email yesterday, let's hope they know we're opening on 6th of March. But if you find it's not there, it will be the 13th of March. So certainly those things.
Right, thank you.
Important good business.
Thank you for that addition. Item 9.